This is Sam. This will hopefully be a quick overview and demonstration of the tool that I've created by modifying an existing tool called TiddlyWiki, called Cosmic Universe 2.0. So I'll just go ahead and jump right into it. I'm making this tutorial operating on the assumption that if you're watching it, you're not familiar with what TiddlyWiki is, since it's not a very widely known tool. It is an open source wiki slash personal knowledge management program. This is their official website and documentation here on TiddlyWiki.com. They preach it as a nonlinear notebook. Think of it like a with all of the capabilities of a wiki. It functions on a single HTML file out of the box. There are a couple other ways to set it up, but I find the single HTML file the easiest. You can carry it around on a flash drive, it can store articles. Things only start to get big when you start embedding images into your wiki. Some examples of well-built TiddlyWikis that I've seen out in the wild include the actual TiddlyWiki official website. It runs on its own software, so each of these little sections you see here are what you might think of as articles. The TiddlyWiki vernacular refers to them as tiddlers. So each of these with the title would be a tiddler, but this is the TiddlyWiki website and where you can find all of their documentation, so if you're having trouble figuring out how to do something, this is a good place to start. Another example of a well-built TiddlyWiki is Grok TiddlyWiki, which is made by a fellow by the name of Soren Bjornstad. He's probably the most knowledgeable source I'm aware of on this software. So he's put together what's essentially a completely free online textbook built on the software that it teaches you about. I've used it. It's really helpful for getting a really deep understanding of the software. If you're not interested in that type of deep dive into the software and you just want to get started, I would at least encourage you check out kind of this first and second chapters, or at least know that you can refer back to this textbook as you're learning. One section that I found particularly useful when I was learning is the wiki text section. It will show you how to mark up your text, and it will introduce you to what a markup language is if you've never used that in any sort of editing. This photo is actually a pretty good example of what you'll see when you're working in the interface, where on the left side you've got your text editor, and on the right side you'll get a preview of what it will look like once you hit that checkmark save button. So this is actually a screenshot from Soren's Zettelkasten, which I mentioned earlier. He links to it from that page on his textbook. Oh, it looks like he's changed the theme. So this is a personal journal that this fellow keeps. It's just a really great example of a well-built, very fleshed out wiki. If you want to explore this just online to get an idea of what this software is capable of, this is a great place to start. A lot of the stuff that you'll see on this particular wiki is of a more advanced degree with this software, so I wouldn't come out of the gate planning on making complex tables like this at the bottom of your pages that auto-populate. That's a lot, even for me still. And then another example I'll show you, which is actually built on the Cosmic Universe framework, is the wiki for my own universe, Aether Compendium. So this is built around a high fantasy universe that I've been building for the last 13 years or so called Polema. If you want to explore this to get an idea of exactly what you'll be capable of creating with just the out-of-the-box Cosmic Universe tools, this is a great place to start. You can explore kind of how I've used this framework to set things up, so if there's a section that doesn't make sense to you, you can come in and be like, oh, okay, so item is different from good because goods refer to a generic thing and items refer to specific pieces that are important in the world, or whatever that may be that you're confused about. You can come see a demo of the Cosmic Universe in action at aethercompendium.tiddlyhost.com. Alright, So, with that section over, we'll go ahead and jump into some of the software and how to actually get started with TiddlyWiki. So, you can skip this section if you're already familiar with the software. Once again, I'm creating this tutorial operating on the assumption that you don't know what it is. You've never heard of it before. So, if you go to just TiddlyWiki.com, this is the page you'll be met with currently as of August 10th, 2024. Quick Start is the best place to start if you're wanting to just jump into things. The two savers, which is what they call basically the platform that you're running the software on, I use the most, are TiddlyHost, which I'll get into in a second, and the official desktop application. So if you click on that, Tiddly Desktop, it'll bump you down to here. This is basically just like a specialized desktop browser built on an existing engine so that you can take advantage of just working on it from a native program instead of figuring out how to add plugins and all of that, because personally I found that to be a huge pain. I still do. One thing about Tiddly Desktop is that you can only run it on desktop. Same for TiddlyWiki as well, really. If you're wanting to edit your wiki at all, you're going to want to do that on a desktop computer, not on your phone. You can view it on your phone and on mobile just fine. It's just really difficult to edit on mobile, in my opinion. So you'll go to Tiddly Desktop, click on this link to their GitHub, and the GitHub's going to have a bunch of stuff that pops up. It's going to look super confusing if you've never downloaded from GitHub before. All you got to do is scroll down a little bit, and they'll have the download and install instructions. You're just going to click on this. It'll take you to the latest release. This happens to be the 20th release, released on March 2nd of this year. You'll look for the zip folder that matches your computer's specifications. So I know that my desktop runs on Windows 64-bit. If you're not sure how to do that, you can look it up. It's pretty easy. Just look up like what bit does my desktop run on. Mac I'm not as familiar with, but you could probably figure out how to check what chip you're running on. And if you're operating on Linux, you probably already know what you're doing. So you'll click on whichever zip file is the most relevant to you. Me, that's going to be Tiddly Desktop Windows 64. I'm going to stop the recording here for just a second and make sure my downloads folder is doesn't have any private information in it. Okay, so after a brief intermission and some new screen recording software, I believe you can now see my downloads folder. So we're going to run very quickly through this. So what you'll do is you'll unzip the folder that you just downloaded. I already did that, and my unzipped one is here. So you'll double click there, and you'll double click there again. When you open it, it's gonna look like a mess. You're probably not gonna be able to tell what file exactly you're supposed to be running. This application is actually packaged as a single folder application, so you don't want to delete the folder that this is in. You don't need to install it because downloading it was the install. So all you have to do to get this program up and running is just find the file titled NW, N as in Nancy, W as in Willow, .exe, and it should be, the file type should be an application here. So you're just going to double click that, and it might take just a second, because it does like to be a little slow. And you should boot up into a screen that looks very similar to this, except you won't have any wikis already loaded in. So once you have that open, this is your Tiddly Desktop starter interface. So if you click on Create New Wiki, it's going to give you a few options. It's going to give you create from a template, either the empty TiddlyWiki file pre-release or just the regular file. For starters, I'd recommend using the stable software, so just go with the default empty TiddlyWiki, don't do the pre-release. However, before we jump any farther into Tiddly Desktop, I'm going to show you the other option you have for running and using TiddlyWiki, which is a bit better if you're using multiple computers or if you want to be able to access your wiki anywhere that you have an internet connection. And that is TiddlyHost. TiddlyHost is a hosting service created by a fellow by the name of Simon Bard, and you do need to create an account, so that is one downside if you don't want to make an account. But it does mean that you'll be able to access it anywhere, and this is 100% free unless you want to upgrade. This guy's pretty great, the guy who runs this hosting site. So if you click on TiddlyHost, it's going to bring you to the main homepage, which is probably going to look a little bit different from mine because I already have an account. Oh, here we go. Actually, this is exactly what you'll see. So you'll either sign up or log in, but I'm going to go ahead and log in. Alright, so I'm all logged in, and your home screen is going to look something like mine, except once again, you are not going to have all of these wikis. Most likely at least. The process for making a TiddlyWiki here is very similar. You just hit the plus button, create a site. It's going to run you through a wizard that will help you create a blank TiddlyWiki site for you to start doing your own stuff with. Now here's where we get into the Cosmic Universe Edition. Out of the box, when you download the Cosmic Universe Edition, it's going to look like this. If you're operating on TiddlyHost, the way you're going to import that is you're going to do create a site, you're going to run through the process of creating a blank site, and then you're going to go to your site on your home page where it's listed, like, for example, Cosmic Universe. Here, you're going to you're just going to click on these three dots on the right, and you're going to click on Upload. It's going to take you to a screen that looks like this, and it's going to be like, proceed carefully. If you replace this, you'll never be able to get it back. That's something worth taking note of, because TiddlyHost, unlike TiddlyDesktop, does not take automatic backups of your site. So, in my opinion, best practice is to edit any wiki you want to edit offline on the desktop application, and then upload whenever you're ready to upload it to TiddlyHost so that you can access it anywhere. That's what I choose to do. So you're going to click Choose File to Upload, and then you're going to come over here to cosmicuniverse.tiddlyhost.com. This is where you're going to get your template. So what you're going to do is you're going to come over here to the right, and where there's this check mark that says Save Changes, you're going to click on that. It's going to say Starting to Save. Actually, hold that thought. Hold that thought. Okay, yes, I was correct. So what I just did while I had the recording paused is I opened a private browsing window because I'm already logged in, so it's going to already want to save it to my account when I hit this save button. However, you shouldn't be logged in when you do this, so just open it in a private browsing window to make it easy on yourself. You're going to come over here, you're going to hit this Save Changes button. It's going to say Starting to Save Wiki, and then you should get, oh, there it is, TiddlyWiki.html. Okay, that's what you want. You're going to go to either your Choose File to Upload. You're going to upload the file that you just downloaded. You may want to rename that file before you upload it. But you're going to either File to Upload and upload that, and then edit on TiddlyHost, or you're going to come to TiddlyDesktop, hit Add Wiki File, and you're going to navigate to your downloaded TiddlyWiki file. And once you do that, it's going to open up this on your Tiddly desktop. So, this is what you will see out of the package with the Cosmic Universe template. You're going to start with the StartHere tiddler, and I'm going to walk you through all of this right now. This should work for just world building hobbyists, dungeon masters, artists, authors. The more familiar you are with the software that it operates on, the more you're going to be able to customize it to suit your needs. However, I do plan to make a few tutorials to show you how to modify this tool to suit your needs in a few different specific cases. That said, there aren't really any right now. I'm currently recording the first tutorial. So you'll start with the Start Here section. It'll link you to the QuickStartGuide, which is, depending on the size of your screen, visible directly below. I've got a fairly large monitor, so it shows. One thing that I would actually highly encourage is either with this edition or just an out-of-the-box blank edition of TiddlyWiki to just do some reverse engineering and kind of exploring on your own. That's really how I've learned to do most of the stuff that I do with this software. That said, I would strongly discourage you from reverse engineering a wiki that is important to you without creating a backup copy, especially if you're working solely on TiddlyHost, since it does not create backups automatically. Some more little tips that I threw in here. If you aren't familiar with TiddlyWiki, there's a great tutorial run through on the TiddlyWiki website that introduces you to the basics. It's an interactive widget, so it'll, check for understanding. It'll show you the different concepts. You get a little burst of confetti if you get something right, which is fun. Another thing that you'll find out of the box, which maybe isn't as useful to the folks already watching this video, is I'm planning on adding a link to this tutorial once it's finished. And then, of course, the obligatory disclaimer. This was software I made on my own time voluntarily and decided to share with other people. It's beta software. I work on it on my own. I try to keep it as up to date as possible because it's a tool that I hope will be useful for some of my friends. But use it as at your own risk. Keep backups. Make sure you're recording your information somewhere that isn't digital. That way, if your computer dies, you still have access to this stuff. Alright, up next we have the Quick Start Guide, which will introduce you to the bare minimum basics for working with TiddlyWiki. Just like what some of the most basic concepts are, how to do some of the more basic formatting, as well as some tips on maybe what the best ways to format your stuff is. I've linked to a few other resources that were fundamental in my understanding of this software when I was learning in the Quick Start Guide. And then building your wiki is more relevant to this specific edition, and I'm going to be walking you through the little bit that I've got written here. Up next on your home screen is the Getting Started tiddler, which comes out of the box with every TiddlyWiki. It's where you can change the title that will appear up here in the top right corner, as well as in the top bar of your window and the tab display when you're online. So you'll change that there. Subtitle is the same thing, it's just the subtitle, and then the default tiddlers are where you can change what is on your home screen when you boot this up. Retain story ordering, all that means is that it's going to keep the last tiddlers you had open in the same order. So the next time you open it up, it's going to look like it did when you closed it. And then this tiddler, the Welcome tiddler, comes out of the box with every Cosmic Universe edition. And this is just a little blurb that I've got written out with some specific wiki text that will allow you to, it will automatically count the number of articles that you have in your wiki that are relevant to your universe, not like background articles that make it function. This can be created into a dynamic list. I can create a few cheat sheets somewhere if that's something that's in demand. And let's see what else. There's just a few little blanks for you to fill out. Obviously you can change this to be whatever you want it to be. I just threw this in here because this is the template I use for my world building. So that's your home page. Now I'm going to walk you through some of the basics of actually getting started with your wiki. So Cosmic Universe 2.0. What I'm going to do is I'm going to save this edition, and this is just going to be my blank copy that I use as a template. So you'll see it in your home screen, you might want to tag this something like edition. That way you know this is an edition that you don't want to accidentally modify the base copy of, because this is what you're going to be using as a template. Next thing you're going to do if you're working from Tiddly Desktop is create new wiki, and you're going to clone an existing wiki, and you're going to use the Cosmic Universe 2.0. It's going to ask you to find a place to save it. For this demo, I'm actually going to be starting the wiki for a campaign that I'm planning on running at some point. So I'm just going to, oops, don't want to do that, actually. I'm just going to title this rift.html, and it just made me a new wiki here. Now they look identical right now, except for if you look at the file location. It's going to boot up your new wiki that you've just created by cloning. And the first thing you're probably going to want to do is make sure that you change this title and this subtitle. Disclaimer, this is a very roughly worked out campaign so far, so this isn't going to be the most creative entry. This is just for demonstration purposes, really. So, now that we've done that, I don't need the Getting Started widget anymore on my home screen. I personally don't need the StartHere or QuickStartGuide, although you might want to leave those up in case you need a refresher at any point. So I'm just going to leave up the Welcome widget. Welcome, Tiddler. And all you have to do is close this, and then hit your circle up here at the top. That's your save button, and it's now saved your wiki. There isn't a way that you can turn on auto-saving. Just go to your settings, control panel, go to the saving tab, general, and you can change it. I prefer to have save changes automatically, and anytime you finish editing a tiddler, it's going to save your changes automatically. Now if you're worried about screwing something up and not being able to back up to a previous version, you might not want to have autosave on. And if I remember correctly, Tiddly Host, you cannot have autosave on because it really screws up the saving process. So make sure that if you're using Tiddly Host, autosave is off. Okay, we've got that out of the way. Close StartHere, close the QuickStartGuide, and just for demonstration purpose, let's say I want to change what my welcome screen is saying. So this is going to be my landing page now, because I just made that my home page. So there's a couple different ways you can edit a tiddler. One is you can click on this pencil icon top right. Another way is you can triple click the body of a tiddler and it's going to open up the editing screen for you. Some stuff you won't want to mess with. This stuff at the bottom, the to do, leave that alone. Everything else you can edit. It's pretty easy to tell where the code starts and finishes, so if you want to leave some of that auto-populating stuff in and you're not familiar with wiki text or TiddlyWiki syntax, I would leave this stuff alone. But anything in single brackets here in all caps is for you to create. So today is August 10th, 2024. It was last modified on, and this auto-populates, so we'll leave it alone. I'm in Central Standard Time, so I'll leave that alone. The Rift wiki. I don't have characters or a world map fleshed out yet, so I'm going to leave those alone. Cool. So I've updated that. Now let's say I want to get started making some of my actual content. So I'm going to give you a brief tour of just exactly how this stuff is set up. Your Contents tab is going to have anything you create from the Think Up tab in it, organized by these categories. You'll get drop-down lists when you populate them. For now, they're pretty blank, and it's just categories. and this button will auto-expand or auto-collapse all of them. Your next tab is the Think Up tab, which is where you're going to be creating most of your content in your wiki from. We'll go back to that in a second. Tags is all of the tags that your tiddlers have been tagged with in this wiki. So if I ever want to look up by, say, group or teaching, anything that's been tagged as a group or teaching will show up in this list when I click on this tag pill. Favorites, you can add a favorite by clicking on the heart in any tiddler, and they will appear here. You can manage your favorites, add folders, etc. Open will just show all of the tiddlers that are open, so if you've got a bunch open and you want to navigate to one or another easily, you can click on it. You can also change the order that they display in. So for example, if I have School of Magic and Science or Tech group up, but I want to put School of Magic above Science or Tech group, you do that here. Recent will show you the most recently edited tiddlers, if I remember correctly. Yes, it would be the most recently edited, so anything that you've saved a change on, it's going to appear here. Tools is slightly overwhelming if you're looking at it for the first time, especially in this palette, I'll be honest. This is just any tools that you might want to access at any point. If you check these, like if I were to, for example, check off the new tiddler button, it would appear up here, and every time I click this, it would make me a new blank tiddler. I would recommend leaving that off because the best way with this edition to be creating tiddlers is through the Think Up tab. More is where pretty much everything extra that's kind of working behind the scenes is going to be. One thing that's fun about the More tab is that if you click on all, you will be able to see every single tiddler that exists in your wiki. Notice there's a lot more than 0, which is what this list is counting. This list explicitly excludes all of the existing tiddlers in an out-of-the-box edition of Cosmic Universe. Missing is going to show you where you have any links that don't link back to a tiddler yet, so you can create links without having a source for them yet. The rest of this is a bit more advanced, and I encourage you to get into the TiddlyWiki documentation or that textbook Grok TiddlyWiki by Soren Bjornstad if you're interested in learning some more in-depth stuff. Subject Index is a pretty cool plugin that I have yet to figure out all the details of because the documentation is pretty sparse, but it's something that you can experiment with if you'd like to. Trash bin is exactly what it sounds like. If you hit the delete button, specifically if you see this one, it's outlined, this one is solid. You want to leave the outlined line here. If you hit the outlined trash bin, it's going to move it to the trash bin. If you hit delete, it's going to permanently delete a tiddler, and you cannot undo that unless you have a backup. So keep that in mind. There's a reason this one is the one that's easier to get to. Alright, back to the Think Up tab, and now we're getting to the actual creation side of things. This is pretty straightforward. Just go to whatever category, whatever you're trying to create an article belongs to. Say I want to create a character, hit new character. It's immediately going to populate in a list here. I'm going to name this new character Finch. And you can add any description you want here. Let's say this: Finch is a person. Cool. That's going to show in the right-hand side what it's going to look like when you hit the save button. And then this has auto-populated all of these fields for you to fill out as you please. You don't have to fill out all of them. Fill out what you want to, and they'll be easy for you to access. So I'm going to fill out age. Let's say Finch is, mysteriously 235 years old. Some of these categories are a bit more specific, and I'm going to be creating another tutorial later to show you how to change what the default meta information that's stored in a tiddler is. So if, for example, you don't want to fill out your character's maximum airspeed every time you create a character, if you don't have a world based around flight, that might be something you want to remove. But yeah, so now that I've got this age filled out, I can hit check. Cool. So, oh, one more thing. You probably always want to fill out the caption because that's going to show as the title of the table here. And then kin, that's another one that I'll probably want to remove from this edition before I make it public. Let's see. Last thing that I'm going to show you how to do is customization. So just a few different things you can do to make your wiki feel a bit more the way you want it to. First things up, you can very quickly change from a dark to a light color palette by clicking on this half-filled circle here on the top right. So that just switched to my light color palette, which can be a bit harsh on the eyes depending on the time of day. So you could switch back to your dark at any time. However, if you want to go a bit deeper into your settings, in the control panel, go to Appearance. First tab is Palette. These are all of the different palettes I have preloaded on this edition. You can choose from quite a number compared to the out-of-the-box edition of TiddlyWiki. Some of these are ones that I've custom made, like Green Thumb and Spacebug. Some of these are ones that I found from other places, like GM's Darkness, Dracula is a well-known one, and there are a ton of others. Story view, you could change how your articles appear. Classic is going to show everything you open. Pop is going to show everything you open, but it's going to focus on a particular active tiddler. And then zoom in is only going to show you one tiddler at a time. You will, however, notice that in your open tab, all of your tiddlers are still open. So if you choose to go to zoom in mode, just remember that if it's running really slowly for some reason, you might want to check what's open and close out all the ones that you're not using. Personally, I prefer Classic so I can reference multiple tiddlers at once. Theme is the UI, not the color. If you want to change color, remember, that's in palette. Theme is the UI that you're seeing in your TiddlyWiki. So if I were to change to Maximo, it's going to change the actual layout. Captivate, it's going to change to something a little bit different. Notebook theme, it's going to change to something really different. So some of these are a bit more extreme changes than others. The out-of-the-box edition is going to come with vanilla active. The rest of these are things that you can explore on your own. I'd encourage you to have fun checking stuff out, and if there's anything specific you want me to create a demo to show you how to use, just let me know in the comments, or if you're one of my friends, contact me directly. Good luck!